Alright, so I'm a little bit behind on these, which is why I'm catching up before the new episode is on tonight, because I have access to Disney Plus right away. So, let's get this done, and we have What If? Episode 2, What If T'Challa was Star-Lord? And it's a very interesting what if, but once again, like the first one, I think maybe they're stretching this out a little bit too much. Like I mentioned in my review of the first one, like, how does Peggy just not going up to the room, staying in that room, make the attack on Erskine happen sooner? It doesn't happen until after they put Rogers in, so it just doesn't make much sense. So this one, you have T'Challa, voiced by the late Chadwick Boseman, which he recorded before his passing. May he rest in peace, rest in power, whatever they say. And essentially it starts off like Guardians of the Galaxy. He's going to collect the Power Stone, which kind of doesn't make any sense with what we find out later. That, like, well, we'll get to that. Why he is collecting this thing. I guess the Infinity Stones would still be, you know, worth looking for. But, and, you know, you got, what's his name? Ooh, that guy shows up. And he's like, "Me no me from another name." He's like, "Oh, Star-Lord, yes." Huh? Like, I don't understand. Like, yes, they go into more, but so you have a sparring fight, and more soldiers show up. They recruit the guy, like, he carries them on there. Yondu shows up, and it just, you know, kills everyone. Although, because it's animated, you don't see anything, of course. And yeah, and so we get a backstory that in this universe, Yondu didn't go to collect Quill himself. He sent his subordinates, which were Kraglin and Taserface. Just a little. Taserface wasn't around in the first Guardians. He wasn't a thing. It makes no sense that he's there. It makes no sense that Taserface is one of them, because he wasn't introduced until the second film. So that tells me that they recruited him between the two films. But he's there. He and Kraglin, they brought the wrong kid, but Yondu decides to keep him anyway. I don't know. And yes, let's clear this up. So I've seen a lot of comments on Facebook and stuff about he wouldn't be called Star-Lord. T'Challa wouldn't be called Star-Lord because that was what Quill's mother called him. He wouldn't be called Star-Lord. Wouldn't be called Star-Lord. Well, I'm assuming that maybe that was the name, and I'm going to defend this because people have been saying this. I'm assuming that was the name that Quill's mom gave to forget his name, the Living Planet dude, Kurt Russell. Forget his name, but giving it him, and so it just carried on, and that's what he told him. He told him, you know, to call him that. I'm assuming. I don't know, but it really does kind of not make any sense. You know what else doesn't make sense? Everything is peaceful. Like, there is no Guardians of the Galaxy in this point. Like, we find out that what's his name? Batista. Why can't I remember fucking names? It pisses me off. It really does. Drax. His planet was saved thanks to T'Challa. Okay? And everyone is good, including Thanos, who's one of the Ravengers. Okay? And Gamora is there, and she's not robotic, and she has hair. Okay? Question. How? Again, I feel like they're really stretching out the limit of possibility here. Like, one person can change. Like, I know that T'Challa had a more positive outlook than Quill. But to convince, like, I'm assuming at this point, Thanos already was on his genocide mission. Like, he did the thing with Gamora, who's not in this episode, by the way, and killed her planet. I'm assuming that already happened. It had to have. Right? Her and Quill were on the same age, so it had to have already happened at this point. She was actually younger than Quill when it happened, so it had to have happened. So I don't understand how that would stop him in his quest. How one African-American little boy from Wakanda would be like, no, you cannot do that. We don't do that here. And he'd be like, fine. No, it doesn't make any sense. And somehow the Collector is the biggest villain of the galaxy. Abba Holmes. He's got a Collector. And it's cool they got all these voices. Benicio del Toro, Karen Gillan, Josh Brolin, Seth Green to come back and voice Howard the Duck. For people saying, oh, we need a Howard the Duck movie. He's already in the MCU. I would like one, but I see people saying, well, what if they brought Howard the Duck into the MCU? He's in the MCU. He fought in the Endgame, for God's sake. And then he's there. You just have to look for him. But yes. And so they set up this plan to get the embers of whatever. These embers. And then it looks like... man, I just said her name earlier. Karen Gillan's character. Man, why do I keep forgetting names? Nebula. It looks like Nebula turned on him, but it was part of the plan. And then T'Challa finds out. So, according to what T'Challa says, that I keep forgetting names. Michael Rooker, Yondu, told him that they wanted to take him back to Wakanda, and it was destroyed. And right away, I'm like, that makes no sense. How would him not being there cause Wakanda to be this? Doesn't make sense. And then we find out that was a lie, because he just wanted to keep him there. And so yeah, and they got this plan, and they get the embers, and they get out of there. They lock up the Collector, and he's now one of his little prized possessions. They open up, free everyone else, and yeah, then they go back to Wakanda, and he introduces everybody together, and yeah, this episode was alright. I like the episode before this better, in my opinion, but it still feels like they're stretching things. And when we get to episode 3, oh boy, are they really stretching things. Although we do finally get a confirmation of continuity between a few of the films. So that's an upside. But I'll get to that one later. Overall, this episode was good. But for them saying one thing that can change, they change multiple things. Like for him, like I refuse to believe that them picking up the wrong person changed Thanos from this evil mad titan person to I'm just one of the Ravengers and I'm a good guy now. And I still have the idea of genocide, but I'm not going to do it because T'Challa said no. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, I understand that T'Challa has a bigger, better heart than Quill, but I just don't have that connection. Also, I forgot to mention there's a scene at the end where we see that Ego, that's who it was, shows up at a Dairy Queen where Peter Quill is working, and they say that's a story for another day. So we might get that next season or later this season, who knows. But yeah, I said this was fine. I feel like they're stretching the one thing that changes everything thing. It just doesn't, like, when I visioned the concept of T'Challa is Star-Lord, I thought T'Challa is Star-Lord, and we're going to see Guardians of the Galaxy shot for shot with T'Challa instead of Quill. But they completely changed everything, and I just feel like that's not what I thought it was going to be. The same thing with Peggy as Captain America. in the first one, I was like, oh, but she's a woman and she can't do this. And I'm like, okay, that makes sense for the time frame, but and I know that one would have more changes than this, but I feel like T'Challa being picked up, it just doesn't make any sense. How T'Challa being picked up instead of Quill, and yes, his heart's a little bit better, he's a nicer person, but who knows who Quill was before he was picked up? Wasn't like he was a bad person then either. He was a kid. He lost his mom, didn't know his dad, but I don't know. I think it's a bit of a stretch. But we'll keep going, and yeah, so what are your thoughts on episode 2 of What If? In the comments below, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.